Chaser Report is recorded on Gadigal land.
Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report with Dom and Charles.
Hello, Charles. What a day for Australia. Tuesday, the 14th of May, will go down in history for reasons other than the Australian budget, to be delivered tonight by Treasurer Jim Chalmers in Canberra. Charles, it's a year and a bit out from the election. At least the latest Albo can go is something like May 2024, I think. The government has 12 months to turn this overpriced submarine around.
Yes, well, exactly. And I think there's going to be a little disappointment tonight, I think. Yep. And what I think Labor has done very well over the last 2 years is to equally spread around the disappointment. I think, if you look at the previous government, there was just highly concentrated bits of disappointment in all different sectors of the population.
Yeah,
right?
I'm still getting over the lack of car park at my local station.
Yeah, they massively overpromised and undelivered, but also managed to somehow piss off 80 to 85% of Australians in the process. Like
that was my alarm because this car park was overdue by 5 years.
They did handouts to basically everyone. They handed out more cash than ever before in Australia's history, and still somehow nobody liked them.
That's right, isn't it? They splashed a massive amount of cash in return for
literally nothing.
Like, not only did they fail to buy people's support, but it's just evaporated into the air.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's been a very Labor government, hasn't it? Because they've been really about equality. So there's been a real equality of disappointment. There's been just a small amount of disappointment given to pretty much everyone in society.
Oh, so you think they've just spread
it really thinly so that everyone gets just this pathetic pattering of disappointment.
Just a sort of low-level exasperation.
Yeah.
Is that what you...
That's right. That's what I'm saying. And look, we can discuss what's going to be in tonight's budget, but also I want to discuss a bit of a solution about how to frame your thinking after tonight.
What a good idea.
To allow you to enjoy your life despite the fact that we live in this timeline.
This is such a positive thing, Charles. So you're saying rather than wanting the government to do anything, we just need to change our expectations.
Yes, that's right. Look, you know how in relationships you blame other people for your own feelings, and that's a total mistake.
If only they could change, but then you realise eventually
you've got to change.
Why would they?
Yes.
Why would they change when they don't have to?
They're not going to change.
So how Australia is like a dysfunctional relationship after this. Wow, Charles, I'm so excited to hear your, I suspect, hard-won, therapy-driven approach to this. Shall we look at what they're actually going to say?
Yes, okay, yes.
So I've got the Herald's budget preview here, the things that we know about the budget so far. Rachel Clun, a couple of days ago, pulling together, really, what the government's been doing is just kind of laying out a trail of breadcrumbs for us to follow so that there aren't really any expectations, but also so that we are in no way satiated by what they've laid out, literal breadcrumbs. So the centrepiece of the budget, Charles, unless there's a surprise. No, look, let's just ask ourselves what they could do, right, before we get to what they're going to do.
Oh, okay, yes.
And I think it's pretty clear now, just quietly, Charles, just basing things off every single conversation I've had in the past 2 years.
Yes.
There's a theory that maybe doing something about housing.
Ooh, housing
would be good. And
hadn't thought of that.
And cost of living more broadly. Something bold, something generational that actually grabs the bull by the horns and says, you know what? We need to solve this generational issue whereby people under the age of, I don't know, is it 40? Is it 50? I don't even know.
Yes.
They're despairing of having a place to live and ever being able to have a financial future. So the government could come out with a once-in-a-generation plan to do something about that. That's on the table tonight. Jim Chalmers could get up and say,
you're right.
Today we're solving it.
Yes.
This is the beginning of it. We're getting up and we're going to fix housing.
You know what they could do?
What could they do?
They could redefine housing as submarines, right? And pledge that every Australian will be able to have a submarine by 2030 or something.
I mean...
And then that would probably unite the country because you'd have all the warmongers go, submarine, they'd hear submarines. And you'd do it all through the defence budget.
You would.
So you'd go 100% of our tax money is now going to defence. And what we're going to do is we're going to supply to submarine, a nuclear-powered submarine,
And
so it can be renewable, so it can
Oh,
be
wow.
it can be carbon neutral.
And even the hippies would love it. You know why?
Why?
Because we'd all live in a yellow submarine. Yeah, that's a great
Yes.
idea.
And
Right.
also, you'd solve the whole land
Oh,
crisis
yeah.
because everyone would be living offshore.
You wouldn't need any more land.
It might affect the tax base if everyone's living offshore, wouldn't it? Because I can imagine Malcolm Turnbull getting on the first submarine out of here.
It'd be
getting out
fairer.
of-
It'd be. I mean, currently only the billionaires keep their earnings offshore. We
Yeah.
all could.
So we pile everyone into submarine. You probably don't even need one submarine per family. You could probably get away with what? How many people could you fit on a submarine? I reckon.
A couple of hundred.
Oh, you reckon?
Oh yeah, those
fantastic.
big nuclear submarines. Maybe it's certainly 100.
So what would you
Hunt
do
for Red
about
October?
Well, you wouldn't need to spend any money on hospitals, schools, or roads.
No,
if they're
God,
on
you just need a little
submarines.
infirmary in the
Yeah.
submarine.
You could, well, yeah. I suppose that would be your hospital.
And there's an
thing.
ejection port for the corpses, I
Yeah,
suspect.
yeah.
Because these nuclear submarines, you know that they can go for a very long time without surfacing. That's the whole
Yes,
thing.
That's right.
This is a very good idea. And Charles, here's the point, right, that I wanted to come to.
Yes.
Is that I said Jim Chalmers could get up and say, we're going to solve housing. We're
Yes.
going to solve cost of living. And if there's one thing we've learnt from recent governments, Charles, it's that getting up and saying it is something bold doesn't mean you have to
You
do
don't
it.
have to do it.
Yeah.
No.
This is the big mistake that I suspect Labor's going to make.
Not in our lifetimes has that ever happened.
They're not going to overpromise, and so they're going to
yes.
solve things. They're going to avoid that. And
Right.
indeed, what they've said they'll do on housing, Charles,
Yes.
they've used the phrase ambitious yet attainable. Jim Chalmers used that in the media last week.
Right.
And it's the attainable that I think is going to be Labor's first mistake. You
Yes.
don't need it to be attainable.
No.
You
Nobody
just
wants an attainable goal.
give people a fleeting sense of possibility that they might actually own a house in the
Yes.
same way that certain Australians
Yes.
woke up one day and thought, we could have a major submarine force. We could actually be a player
Yes.
geopolitically with our fleet of nuclear subs, which, Charles, as we've discussed in previous episodes, is unlikely ever to materialise. But the hope of a submarine, Charles.
So, yes, because, you're right. Like, maybe we need, what's his name, Richard Marles to come on board because he's, like, he wants war. He wants subs. He wants all these unattainable things. Although, actually, war probably will be
War is
but
reasonably
but
attainable.
he's been big thinking in terms of all the horrible things that he wants for Australia. And a lot of them are unattainable. Maybe he should become treasurer and start actually rolling out promises across the board.
Well-
I mean, mind you, his things would probably be like, you can all have a house, but it's got to hit you in the face each morning.
You know, the house on a military base in another country. But we're all in submarines, Charles. If we're all out in a fleet of submarines, it'd be silly not to have a war. We'd have all these submarines. What would we do with them otherwise?
A wall?
A war.
A war?
If we've got
That's a
we've
good
got
point.
Tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of submarines out there in the ocean.
And that would solve lots of other problems as well. For example,
we wouldn't need parks.
we wouldn't need parks. We wouldn't need...
Playground. You wouldn't need schools. It could just be Zoom school. Didn't that work well last time?
Yeah.
You could rewild Australia. I think we'd all be out in the submarines and nature would reclaim the Australian mainland. It'd be fantastic.
And if we
the
had...
environment.
maybe we need to set a war goal that's ambitious yet attainable.
Oh, so who should we take on?
Well, New Zealand, surely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick wins. That's what they say.
Quick wins.
Okay. So
Fiji, Nauru. I don't think we'd win against Nauru.
no, Nauru's pretty.
What about Solomon
impregnable.
Islands?
Sure.
I don't think we want Tuvalu and Kiribati. They're sinking. aren't they?
No. There's a.
Do you reckon we could take Indonesia?
No.
No.
I think
We'll just go round Indonesia.
No, just Bali. All we need is Bali.
Bali, yeah.
Yeah, as a place for
We'll
recreation.
fight them on the beaches, like literally.
Okay, so
Okay.
this is the vision we're looking towards. So in terms of what the Herald says, the cornerstone of the budget will be, Charles, the biggest cost of living measure, the biggest thing that the government's doing to help all of us to solve this problem. And if you're looking for something exciting, at least according to the Herald, there's nothing because it's the stage 3 tax cuts. It's a thing they've already announced.
Oh, they've already announced.
That's the thing. So the big new measure is something that they've already done. The big new idea is, hey, that thing we just did before that a lot of people said we will, broke our promises about, that's our big plan.
Wow. Oh my God, that's even worse. Well, this dovetails nicely into what I was going to propose about how to change our thinking around what's going to happen. Because, if you're thinking tonight, oh, wow, I'm amazingly disappointed.
Yeah.
Perhaps the way to reframe your thinking is, so I was talking to a friend about America and how essentially they're living in a post-democracy. Right?
Sure.
But then the discussion I had was quite interesting because he was going, oh, well, because he knows a lot more about America than me. He's from America. And he was saying, but I think Australia's in the same boat, right? Like, as goes America, so goes Australia.
Sure.
And so we look at America and we think, oh, that's a post-democratic world. It's so calcified and crunchified by the sort of oligarchical, horrible corporations just owning everything, that you sort of forget that actually so is Australia. Like, Australia is already in a sort of post-democratic framework where, the other day, what did they announce? $26 billion in new gas projects, right? The government.
Oh, yes. They're bringing gas beyond 2050. That's right.
Yeah. And the whole point being that 85% of Australians oppose that exact measure, and yet it's got a completely bipartisan political support in this country because actually we're not in a democratic framework. We're in a sort of post-democratic framework where big corporations get far more say than the general will of the people. And so perhaps we just need to stop worrying about what's going to happen because it's out of our hands.
Just shut up and trust the corporation.
We can hate it as much as we like, but we don't have to worry that there's anything we can do about it.
Oh, so there's no responsibility,
yes,
right?
And I think that's where the Labor Party's ended up. They've gone, well, it's nice to be in power. It's nice to get these nice seats and the subsidies at the parliamentary bar.
Comcars are good.
You get Comcars, you get the Qantas Club. There's so many, or Chairman's Lounge. You get so many benefits from being in government. You might as well be in government. You can be just as underwhelming as anyone else,
sure,
but at least you get all the perks.
That's very, very good.
So I think the rest of the country should just get on board with that project and go, there's nothing we can do about it. Like, the horse is already bolted. Like, if we wanted to solve that, we should have done it like 20 years ago. You see what I mean? Like, it's over.
Well, you're right in that at the point where the two parties agree, there's sort of nowhere to go. There are the Teals. The Teals have been saying, hang on, what do you mean gas?
But
we're relying on gas. There are the Greens, but in a way they're sort of dressing. Aren't they the ones that give the illusion of a range of opinions?
Exactly. They're the Bernie Sanders. They're the AOC of America.
There's Bob Catter in there, people who like big hats and straight talk. But he's not going to affect anything.
There's got Sideshow Barnaby.
You need them there to give the sense that there's a diversity of opinions.
Yeah,
that might actually have an influence in some way.
No, but it's not true. And I don't. And I think you can go to bed tonight thinking, well, I may never own a home, or my kids may never own a home. I may be miserable in every way, and the planet will, become an apocalyptic hellscape within my lifetime.
Powered by gas.
But nothing I can do about it. So why bother?
Why bother?
The Chaser Report. News you can't trust.
Look, there's lots of savings. Katie Gallagher's found a whole bunch of savings, apparently, so good for her. Mainly their skin, I think, is the thing that she's trying to save there.
No, there's no way. I mean, I've already called it. I've already called this election, Dom. I called it
You did.
A year and a half ago.
All right, so let's see what else they've got. They're going to do the new Future Made in Australia plan. And
that's good. I like that.
Making things in Australia,
yes.
Quantum computing.
So does that include the nuclear-powered subs? Are they being made in Australia?
No, but Charles,
right. Okay, sorry.
That's unfair because
because that's just the single biggest line item in the budget.
But as we've discussed, they're not going to be made anyway.
Oh, they're not going to be made anyway. Yes, of course. Oh, sorry. This is like an Escher diagram, isn't it? You've got to every staircase you go up, suddenly you realise you're going down again.
It's at this point that I want to give a little shout out to our sponsors, to Rode, who make the gear that we use to make the podcast. They make the world. Somehow Rode makes the world's best value microphones, like in terms of high quality microphones that are much cheaper. And they're not paying me to say this. They gave us a bunch of stuff years ago.
Yeah.
We don't really use it. It's not like they pay this money now, right?
Yeah.
But the microphones that they make are as good as microphones that cost a lot from other places.
Yes.
The Rodecaster machine we record the podcast on is world-leading computer equipment.
Yes.
It is all made in Sydney, Australia. I've been to
Sydney.
the factory.
Yes.
Somehow they managed to make like high-tech, world-beating devices here in Australia. Imagine if we put them in charge of, I don't know, laptops or something, and
Yes.
no one else does it, and they don't need money from the federal government. They don't need a giant investment, but no one else bothers because no one thinks you can. What if they made a car?
Are they interested in making submarines? Because I've got an idea.
That is,
We're going to need a lot of submarines to house everyone.
you know, Charles, when I was at the road factory,
Yeah.
I went to, they've got an anechoic chamber. You know what that is?
Oh, that's horrible.
It's a
isn't it?
room where they test microphones and so on.
Yeah.
Where it's completely silent. You
Yeah.
can't hear a thing.
Is it horrible?
It's weird. It's so weird. There's no echo at all. And if you go in there for too long, you can start to hear your own blood vessels.
Peter
pumping
Dutton
things
would
around.
love it because isn't he sick of the echo chamber of Canberra?
There's no echo chamber
He should
at all.
go to the.
So I'm thinking if we keep saying the submarine's never going to get built, we're going to be put in a room like that. Where no one can even hear us.
right.
So
Yeah.
anyway, my point being, you can have manufacturing in Australia,
yes,
but no, we won't. We're not going to do it. It's just never going to happen. I don't know why. There's one company that's actually good at manufacturing. Why is that?
look,
They pay real wages.
but Dom, see, you're caring too much again. It's not. It's not
yes,
up to us.
of course. I'm trying to find
We're
solutions.
you got to be in a post-democratic frame of mind.
But now we come to the last item in the Sydney Morning Herald's preview. And really, there's very little in it. There's a few things, a little bit in renewables, billion in quantum computing, billion in the solar sun shoot to boost our solar panel manufacturing capabilities.
Can I say, though, the quantum computing one is interesting because if that works, we'll end up with one of the biggest quantum computers in the world.
Yeah, no,
right?
I've actually interviewed some of the people
Yeah.
working on that, and it is genuinely
fucking
exciting.
incredible. But you know what it can do? It'll be able to like the number of qubits that they're trying to do. It'll be able to crack Bitcoin,
Yes.
which
It'll
means
destroy crypto, which would be fantastic. That's
no,
what we
which
need.
means no. We would just no. The whole point is if you do it, you don't tell anyone you've cracked it.
Oh, okay.
And you just start stealing it. And there's a theory actually out there that it's already started happening, that people's Bitcoins has already started being stolen. But the whole key is you don't tell anyone that you're stealing it, and you just do it very quietly and very subtly.
Very good.
And people, 10 years down the track go and try and cash in their
Oh.
Bitcoins and realise that it's already been cracked. And so that's like, anyway, point is we could end up, like that could solve
be us.
everything.
Well, if
they could
it-
literally solve everything. We
I mean,
could
we
pay
may
for
as well.
a submarine for everyone.
If it's not us, it's going to be North Korea. So we may as well get there
Yes.
first. But then the final item, Charles, in the Herald's preview of the budget is our new defence strategy, right? This is what it all leads up to. 38.2 billion
Yes.
over the next decade.
What a great legacy for Albo.
$330 billion for
Yes.
defence in the next 10 years.
You need that.
In the
you
total.
need that, yep.
How much is that per person? I
What,
can't do the maths.
what if somebody did invade Australia? Wouldn't they just go, fuck, the house prices are too expensive. Let's get out of here. Like, what are they going to do? Like, what are they going to do with Australia that has not already been done by the people running Australia? You know what I mean? Like, they come in here and take all our iron ore and send it overseas. Oh, wait a minute. We already do that for them. You know what I mean? Like, what are they going to do? What are they going to do?
Charles, just hearing what you're saying,
Mm.
this whole idea that if you accept that people aren't going to change,
Yeah.
that you'll find peace, I don't think it's worked for you. I'm just getting a sense there's a lot. You've never been louder than you have during the recording of this podcast. I actually think you are utterly devastated about where we are at the moment.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I need more therapy. I'll just go and renew my mental health care. Oh, wait a minute. That's been cut. It's been cut to a more attainable level.
What you need to do, Charles, I know these people, they're called Road, and they've got this wonderful padded room. It's nice and quiet. We just come in. Oh,
Oh, that sounds good.
yeah, come into
I
this
need
room,
that.
just sit down.
Oh, this is great. This is great.
In this room, nobody can hear you scream or
Can I just scream?
these.
I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
So there you go. That's the 2024 budget. And Charles, I want to end on this note, okay? Because we made a big call when Anthony Albanese was elected. We drew a line in the sand. We made a bold prediction.
Oh, yeah.
We expected disappointment on day one.
Yes.
with the new government.
It was a very attainable expectation.
We expected that for a man who kept expectations low throughout the campaign,
Yes.
who didn't want to set high targets, we thought that was the kind of Prime Minister that he'd be.
Do you think it's the sort of thing where if you aim low, you'll go lower? And so you might as well be extremely ambitious because at least then you're sort of aiming somewhere vaguely in the vicinity of the dartboard. Like, isn't the whole point that if you're constantly trying to score your darts beneath the dartboard, you're never going to get on the dartboard. At least if you're above the dartboard, you're just going to put them all on the floor. Whereas if you're in the,
So
at
aim
the top
high,
of the aim high,
you'll still fail, but occasionally you might have a success.
You might as well aim high, seeing you're always going to under deliver. Like they've under promised and then they've under delivered on their under promise. They've sort of like, oh, it's just like a submarine. It's like bottom of the ocean level of achievement.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
The submarine program aims incredibly high. It aims for nuclear submarines for Australia.
Yeah.
We'll never get such nuclear submarines, but at least we said we would.
Yes,
Briefly.
Exactly.
We imagined a world where we would be a world power, where we'd have influence, and people would fear the name Australia because of oh no, don't mess with Australia. They've got all these nuclear subs that are going to arrive in 10 to 20 years. They'll be able to get their revenge on us in a generation's time. Happy Budget Day, Australia.
Our gear is sorry. Where is our gear from? I can't remember.
They're very good.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
And we're part of the Iconoclast Network. Catch you tomorrow.